Welcome back to Trucks and Junk. Today I'm going to show you guys how to replace the fork seals on your motorcycle. There's two reasons why I'm going to replace the fork seals on my motorcycle. If you guys remember on my drive video, I took that bike for a drive and the only thing I found wrong with it was the fact that my forks were leaking. So that's one reason I'm changing them. The second reason I'm changing them is because I want to change my forks from silver and chrome to matte black. So if you guys are interested in how to do that as well, make sure you check out that other video. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the forks. They're going to come apart silver and go back together black. So stay tuned. Alright, first step, if you guys are watching this video and this kind of stuff interests you, then pause the video and hit subscribe. If you guys are already subscribed, thank you. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. Alright, the second step is you're going to want to loosen up this cap. This is something you're probably going to want to do before you remove them from the bike, but since I've already took my whole bike apart because all of this stuff is getting painted, I'm going to lock mine down in the triple tree top housing. So I don't have to put this in a vise, because if I was to put this in a vise and try to loosen this cap, that vise is going to tear up the top part of this fork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it back down in the triple tree that came off the bike, because that will hold the fork tight to where you can loosen up this cap. But like I said, if you're not wanting to take your whole triple tree apart, then I would suggest doing this step before you remove them from the bike. So then on my bike, it's 22 millimeter for this cap. So you're going to just want to loosen it. You don't want it to be all the way out yet, because this thing is under tension with a spring load. So you just want to make it to where it's loose enough to where you can take it out without having to put your fork in a vise. And then I'll remove my triple tree from it. Alright, your next step is you're going to want a container to be able to catch your oil. So you'll sit it down here on the floor underneath of it. Okay. And then you'll go ahead and stand your fork up. And then you'll finish removing that cap. And you'll want to hold pressure down on it while you're removing it. So one finger pressing down and the other finger with the wrench. Just like that. And go ahead and finish removing that cap. See how I wanted to spring up? But now my finger's there to keep it from shooting across the room. Okay, and then you can loosen it, just barely let it go. And you can let this part come down, okay? Which is the chrome part, the cylinder part. Now you'll want to take out your baffle sleeve, which it'll be tapered at the bottom, okay? And you'll want to keep everything in order as it comes apart, guys. That way you don't lose track of where it goes. Okay, and then the next thing is you're going to want to dump the fluid out. So like I said, you'll have that container and you'll dump the fluid out of the fork. Okay, and your spring is going to want to come out at this time. Now your spring, you'll want to sit it next to your baffle and it'll have a spacer on top of it. Okay? So you'll want to sit it next, because that's how your fork's going to go back together, guys. Okay? And then you'll move your fork back and forth to get your oil out. And as you guys can tell, there wasn't much oil in this fork, which means it's been leaking for a while. And that means that's why I had such a bouncy front end when I was riding the bike. Because this fork was pretty much empty. It wasn't doing its job. But you'll just kind of baffle it back and forth, just get all the oil out of it. Just like that. Just kind of twist it, baffle it, whatever. Alright. Now the next step, there is a Allen bolt in the bottom of the fork. You see it right there? Right in the bottom of the fork, there's an Allen bolt that you need to take out. Some of them have a hex bolt, some of them have an Allen bolt. But for mine, it's an 8mm Allen. Now, that being said, you're going to want to either use air or electric for this. They do make a tool that goes down in here and holds the fork still to be able to take this out by hand, but that tool is expensive. Honestly, if you can get your hands on a loaner air compressor, if you don't have one, and a loaner gun, that's going to be cheaper on you than buying that tool that goes down in here and holds this fork still to take this bolt out. But if you have air, you just zip it right out. Okay? So you're going to get it in there and just zip it right out. Alright, and like I said, it's just a little Allen bolt with a seal on the bottom of it to keep it from leaking oil out. It's one of them copper crush seals. And you'll take that out and you'll set it aside. Okay? And then more oil will come out the bottom of it. So you'll just want to go ahead and let that drip on out. But now you hear how stuff moves around in there? So we get the oil out of the bottom of that. Alright, now that we've done that, we've got that bolt out the bottom. We've got the fork apart as far as all that goes. Now we're going to want to remove the dust shield on, which is basically the top seal. This does not really hold any fluid back, guys. This is to keep water from getting down to your snap ring. And most of the time these leak first. These get dry rotted from the sun. They leak first. They allow water to get down in here and get trapped in between. The snap ring rust. Then rust gets on your fork, and then the fork wears out the seal. So that's normally how this goes. So you'll want to replace these as well. When you get your seal kit, they should come with these. If not, I would definitely try to find the seal kit that does come with those. And then you have a little snap ring underneath that seal, which is the rusty stuff inside of here. And you'll want to take that snap ring out. Now on a Kawasaki, you can just use a flathead screwdriver to get that snap ring out. Some of them have snap ring pliers. Some of them are a little different. But at least on this one, you just use a flathead screwdriver. You're going to want to barely pry on it. Find where your opening is. And on this one, I think it's this one. And you'll just pop it up. And boom, there's your snap ring. Alright, replace those as well. Find them on Amazon. You can find them at a Kawasaki shop or motorcycle shop, Harley shop, whatever. You'll want to replace those as well, because once they rust, they weaken. And on your forks, you really do not want to take chances. Okay, this is your whole front end shock system. So if you bottom this out and that snap ring's no good, there's a good chance your fork can come apart on you, and you don't want that. Because if that bolt that we just took out of the bottom was to fall out and you didn't catch it, you're going to lose all your fork oil, and then that snap ring is your only last line of defense. So don't play around with it. And now that you've got the snap ring out, the bolt out of the bottom, the springs out of the top, and the top cap off, you can use this like a slide hammer now and bring your seal out. Boom. Alright, so now my seal's out. Okay? You'll take it off, and you'll want to make sure that make sure everything is the same. See how rusted that is? There's supposed to be a washer that's supposed to be separate from that seal, and it's rusted to it. So this has been in bad shape for a while, guys. But make sure that you put that ring, it's going to come on first. Then your seal, then your snap ring, then your dust shield. That way if you lay it out the way it came out, guys, you know how it goes back together with the new parts. This bushing will come out. This bushing is really rusty and worn. So this will get replaced in my fork. Okay, now you got a baffle that drops out of the bottom. You see that? So you're going to want to flip this upside down and bring your baffle out. Okay? So now you've completely disassembled your forks. There should be another spring in there as well. Yep, there it is. Okay? So now your forks are completely disassembled. Now we need to clean them up. That also being said, there's still one more piece inside of the bottom housing, which should be the aluminum baffle. Boom. It goes on the bottom of the baffle. So now that we got this fork completely disassembled, now we're going to clean these up and get them ready for paint. And then once I paint these, I'll show you guys how to put them back together. Okay guys, now that I got these apart, now I'm going to clean them up. So what I'm using to clean them is mean green and hot water, because mean green's a good degreaser. And then I went to the dollar store and got one of these fluffy dusters that'll close in real good and get inside that fork housing real good, because if you guys plan on painting these like I do, you definitely want all the oil and grease out of them, because oil and grease will destroy a paint job. So I went and got one of these. It's $1.25 now, so you're not really out nothing by destroying it. And then you just stick it in the mean green and start scrubbing away, cleaning everything up real good. So, and then I'll use a green scrub Brillo pad and really scrub into it, because like I said, if you plan on painting it, you're going to be sanding it down, priming it, and painting it anyway, so it doesn't matter if you scratch them up. If you don't plan on painting them and leaving them silver, then just clean them up with a soft cloth, or if you don't even feel like cleaning them, don't even worry about it. But the cleaner the better, because if you have any dirt or debris in there with these new seals, it can mar up the inside of them and cause you problems down the road. So, but, oh yeah. But like I said, this mean green is perfect for getting oil and grease and grime and everything you want off of these with doing a paint job. It's pretty clean now. Now let's work on the inside. See how it brings the water to the top? With this kind of brush, it's perfect for doing this, because literally you just put the bottom in the water and just it brings it out, because it sucks the water up and then pushes it out through the top. Oh yeah. And then you'll rinse it out with just regular water. I'm gonna go rinse it out real quick, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so now that it's rinsed out, you guys can see in there, it is clean. Like everything is nice and clean, inside and out. And that's the way you're gonna want it for a paint job, because you don't want that oil and grease to be anywhere on this. And trust me, once you clean it this way, you're going to feel the difference in the fork. It's going to be like squeaky kind of clean. Like you're going to feel the texture in the fork. And then once you get it to this point, you're going to sand it down and prime it if you plan on doing the painting of the forks. So like I said, I'll show all that in the painting video. But this is mainly just how to replace your fork seals and make your bike safe. So. Alright, now after you've done that, your fork base, you'll clean your top fork the same way. So, and it's the same way guys, but you're not going to use Brillo pad on this, because it will scratch it. You're basically just going to use your hand on the fork tube, because you don't want to scratch this at all, because this is your sealing surface. Okay. So you'll just use your hands on this to clean this real good and get all the grease and oil off of it. And just clean it that way. But you're not going to be painting these, because there's no sense in painting these. You know, I'm going to show you guys in the fork video how to turn these black. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you go check it out. Now we're going to squeeze this out and then stick this in here. Same concept, guys. See, it fits right in there. Now. But yeah, it's the baffle side. But anyway, like I said, guys, you could definitely tell the difference in there. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot better. And then once you take them and spray them off with water, clean soapy water or clean regular water, and dry these off with a rag, they're perfect, in good shape. And you'll also want to inspect the surface of where the seal rides. Okay, you don't want any nicks or anything in that section. Up here don't matter because that's where it goes on your triple tree. But in here, right here where the seal rides all the time, you'll want to make sure there's no nicks, no burrs, no wear out section, nothing like that, because that will also cause a leak even with a new seal. So, all right, now that I got these clean, I'll start showing you how to reassemble. Or actually, I can't show that yet. I have to finish my paint video, and then once I get these painted, we'll be back on the reassemble part of this, and I'll show you guys how they go back together. Okay guys, we're back after painting everything and cleaning everything up. So now the first thing we're going to want to do to reinstall these things or put these things back together is you're going to stand your fork housing up. Okay, and the first thing you're going to do is take the aluminum spacer on the bottom of your bottom baffle, and you're going to put this in facing wide into the taper down. Okay, so this small part's going to be facing up. All right, you're going to drop it down in there, and then you're going to shake it until it centers itself, because there's a little groove cut out in the bottom of the fork housing for that to sit in. Okay, now that you've done that, you're going to set up your fork tube. Okay, and then you're going to drop your baffle facing down with the spring on it into the fork tube. Okay, and then it's going to drop out the bottom just like that. And then you're going to take this whole assembly after inspecting the bottom bushing here to make sure it ain't marred or messed up in any way, and you're going to drop that down into the fork housing just like so. And did you hear how it just snapped into that spacer? And then you'll drop it down just like that. Now that you've got it at this point, you're going to want to put your bushing over your top bushing over your fork tube. Okay, and you're going to slide it down into the bottom housing. And then you're going to take the washer that normally separates the bushing from the seal, and normally this is taper facing up, okay? But we're going to flip it over and put it taper facing down just to drive the bushing in. So what I've done is, you can buy a 41 millimeter seal installer off of Amazon for like 12 bucks. But what I've done is I got me a piece of PVC coupler, because if you guys know anything about the 41 millimeter forks, the small forks you can use 1.5 inch PVC. It slides down over the fork just perfectly, and you can drive your seals and everything in. But if you have a 41 millimeter fork, which is normally on a Harley or a Kawasaki or something like that, then the fork is too big for the 1.5 inch to slide over it. So you either have to buy the 41 millimeter installer, or you can buy one of the 1.5 inch couplers that you use to stick the 1.5 inch together and just grind down the end of it to where it'll fit inside the fork housing. So that's what I did. It's only $1 and some change. Then you'll put that over it, just like that. And then I just grabbed up a couple more just to go ahead and space it out, because it was cheaper than buying another piece of 2-inch PVC pipe. And then you'll take your hammer and you'll drive your bushing in. Okay? Now once you drove your bushing in, it don't take a whole lot of force, guys. It just takes a little bit. You'll bring your washer back out, flip it back over to where now the taper's facing down like it should be. Okay? And then your next thing you're going to install is your bottom seal. Okay, you guys are going to want to make sure you work this over top your fork housing without tearing it up. Okay, because this is the spot where it will get tore up if you're not extra careful working that over top of that fork housing. Okay, and then you'll just slide it down to the bottom just like that. And you'll use that same installer, the one you either bought or the one you made. Most people just go ahead and buy one. You'll put that down over top of it, and you can use one of these like a slide hammer on your seal. It don't take much to bring the seal in there, okay? But you want to drive your seal in to where you can see the locking collar of, you want to drive the seal in to where you can see the ring around the seal to be able to put your locking spring back on. Alright, so now once you've gotten your actual seal drove in there far enough to where you can see the retaining part in there, the retaining hole, there's a groove all the way around the inside of there that your snap ring will go into. You definitely want your seal lower than that groove so your snap ring can go in. Okay, so now that you've gotten that seal in, you'll put your snap ring in. Alright, so now once you've got your snap ring in, you're going to go ahead and flip this on its side. Nope. Okay, you're going to go ahead and lay this on its side, but don't flip it down too much. You're going to go ahead and put your bolt back in the bottom. Okay, let me make sure that's still lined up. Yeah, it's still lined up. Okay, we're good. So you're going to put your bolt. Don't forget the seal washer that goes on the bolt, because they will leak if you don't put that on there. Okay, you'll probably want to start these with your fingers first. So you'll put that in there. Just like so. And you'll want to start it with your fingers. I recommend putting Loctite on the bolt as well, guys. Especially if you don't have the tool that goes in the front to hold that seal to torque it down. But once you got them started with your fingers, you're going to take your air gun and you're going to zap it in. Once like, okay. That puts your bolt back in the bottom. And now that you've done that, okay, so as you guys can tell, this paint's holding up really well, even with me manhandling it like this. So if you guys want to know how to turn your forks black, make sure you check out my other video that's coming out next week. So after you've put your bottom bolt in, now you're going to put your baffle spring in, just like that. Then you're going to put your spring spacer in, just like that. And then you're going to put your baffle in with the taper facing down, just like that. And you're going to bring your fork up to it. Alright, and now you've done all that. You're going to put your dust shield on. Because like I said, these things don't really seal anything anyway. They just sit on there. You can press them down with your fingers, whatever. You'll bring your tube up, and then you'll put your top locking collar on, or your top locking bolt. You're going to have to push down with the palm of your hand and then twist to get these started, because remember, they're under spring load. Okay, and then once you've got it started with your fingers, that's all you need. Because once you put these on the bike, you're going to want to fill these up with fluid. And the main reason I wait until I put mine on the bike to fill them up with fluid is because I want to know the weight of the bike. And you need to go by your vehicle specifications. You can look it up in your manual on how much fluid to put in these. But I like to wait till they're on the bike, because I'll add or take a little away for the bounce that I like on my bike. So as long as you're pretty close to their ballpark, you can adjust how much bounce you have in the front of your bike by just adding and reducing some of that fluid. So that's just the way I like to do it. But other than that, guys, that's a reassembled fork. Now you guys are wondering, well, if this is black up here and this is black down here, what about this spot right here? Well, when I go to put it on the bike, okay, I'll put these on it. These right here. So my top of my triple tree will be here, the bottom of my triple tree will be here, this will be on here, right up to the bottom of that triple tree, and that'll allow my entire strut to be black in the front of the bike. So, alright guys, that's it for putting your fork seals in. I'll see you on the next video.